Okay. A couple of findings I'll be sharing as a couple of research thirds. But before that, I'll be just very briefly telling you the importance concept of having a calculation on sample size. What should be the ideal sample size? I'll be sharing by end of the day a good reading material on sample size calculation. But I just wanted to cover quickly what is important should be learned on sample size, what will be applying for every piece of research. Now, sample size calculation is, as you know, is not just how many replicates, how many observations we should consider for our own research so that the acceptability of a finding or the generalization is good. Sample size is important for particular empirical study and its acceptability so that we can very well confidently infer, yes, it will hold good for the entire population. As you can guess, we often resort to very, very small samples because of cost factor, because of time factor, and because of convenience also. It is theoretically, technically, scientifically allowed. Let's all be clear. And it is proved statistically that it can ensure also the desired power. Power means statistical test accuracy. Now, this statistical power is often measured by a formula called 1 minus beta. I think those who have covered statistics might have heard of type 1 error, type 2 error. Type 1 error is denoted as alpha. Type 2 error is denoted as beta. So 1 minus beta, 1 minus the error is the strength of the test or the power of the test. This is what we need to understand. Okay. Type 1 error, type 2 error. The symbols are alpha and beta respectively. So 1 minus beta is the strength or the power of our statistical test. Moving forward, I would be introducing another very, very important finding, or I should say the most important finding of statistics is CLT, that is called central limit theorem. Based on this, actually the sample size calculation is all dependent. Those who may please recall a chapter called normal property, normal distribution in statistics book, the normality. That theory, I'm just telling the essence. I will not be telling the mathematics essence. If you repeat repeatedly, you'll find there is a pattern coming. And you take a sample, one more sample, one more sample, one more sample, say 100 samples. You imagine any topic of your respective MRP or any other topic. Say somebody say, for example, trying to understand what would be total paddy production if we apply a fertilizer. Am I making sense or no? I'll be taking you as a representative for today's class. Suppose you are applying a fertilizer, particular type of fertilizer, and you are taking say 10 plots. The average harvest what you will be getting, if Arpita is applying same fertilizer in another 10 plots, both of you should get exactly same harvest, yes or no? Or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Because sir is telling it is good that you should say yes. What is my question, Anu?
So if I'm using the same fertilizer for my harvesting purpose, and Arpita is also utilizing the same fertilizer for the harvesting purpose, so
Where?
in another field.
Suppose you are from both district, Arpita is at Balasur district.
Okay, sir.
So why you said yes, sir? Because you like, respect your sir.
No, sir. So I didn't thought of that sense.
It might vary. That's what,
It
like,
might vary.
I think physically you are in my class, mentally you are 100% not in my class. It might vary. Okay. So that variation, that is called fluctuation of sampling. But if you repeat one sample, two sample, three sample, 100 samples, you take the averages and plot how it is varying. So in the long run, you'll find that it is stabilizing. So that is the essence of central limit theorem, is centrality. And we can find the variation amount and the average. Variation amount means standard deviation, and average. Suppose you have got here and say one standard deviation, this side up, this side down. Are you getting my point? So
Yes,
the
sir.
first figure, Arpita, give me just 2 minutes. Don't forget your question. So please, all of you look at here. The middle center point is called average. And here, 1 times standard deviation here, 1 times plus standard deviation here. It is mathematically proved, though there will be variation, 68% of the cases, suppose you have taken 100 samples, in 68 samples, you will find your agriculture harvest within this range. Within this range means what, Satish?
So within the range specified by the researcher in the samples?
I'm also missing Satish. Though we are physically present, Neha, within this range means what?
Sir, within 68%.
What is the range?
-3 to
-1.
66.
अरे मान लो कि एवरेज है 60 क्विंटल, स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन है 5 क्विंटल. सो द रेंज इज 55 क्विंटल से 65 क्विंटल तक. इस रेंज में जो 68 केसेस एक्सपेरिमेंट करोगे ना, all values will be within this range. So try to understand the role of standard deviation in creating a range. Within this range, our values will must fall. Okay. Similarly, 2 times standard deviation this side, 2 times standard deviation this side, within the range, what is the percentage that you can guarantee? 95% of your result will be here. Similarly, 99.7% will be here. This is the beauty of normality of observations. Now over to Arpita, your question.
Sir, going through the example, what you suggested with me and Anu, the paddy one. Sir, can you please explain with that example this concept?
I'm sorry, I'm not getting your question. Can you please
Sir,
repeat?
Sir, I'm suggesting that with the example that you had suggested me and Anu taking the same fertilizer in different fields, like seeds and so that I'm suggesting, sir, just explain the same thing that you have suggested.
That's what I think I explained that only. No, suppose I use 2 scholars, Anu and Arpita.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, suppose I'm sending 100 scholars. So there will be some average harvest. I told you 60 quintal. There will be some variation, fluctuation. That variation is measured by standard deviation. Say it is 5 quintal. So that's how I'm making. So out of the 100 scholars, those will be trying with that particular brand of fertilizer, whatever they will be get, that harvest will be fluctuating within a range of 55 to 65.
Right.
And
Got it.
the professor who found this theory told that guarantee 68% of you will find this result. Am I answering you? No.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any question? So this is called the central limit theorem, and the professor who first gave us, he told ki 30 plus would be a decent sample size to start with. So this is what the minimum theory. Moving forward, There are like many factors, but like some of the major factors. I'll be giving you the reading material. So we need to the variation. Okay, that's what I gave one example. Every research, whatever the observation, suppose say human psychology or whatever you are taking, every sample respondent will have different opinion. That is also the variation. So that variation can be measured by standard deviation. Okay. So if some of the factors is, do we know the variation, amount of fluctuation? Do we know the sample, population, target population size? And many times population size will not be known. Do we have any stipulation, any expectation that this should be the significance level, this should be the power of the test? Okay, say 95% I want accuracy, 90% I want accuracy. If you want more accuracy, you have to increase more sample size. So these are the few feelings that you need to know. Okay, so now the few factors are, you have to have the population size if it is known, lucky, and you have to have the confidence interval. Confidence interval, I have given you the example of a range, within which range you want to have. And what is the significance level? It is 5%, 1%, that is alpha. And we might have taken in the testing of hypothesis and determine the standard deviation. And there is a formula. It's not the one formula. If you find Z score, don't worry about this formula. There are different formulas also. So now this is not required for your MRP, and it may come up during your thesis submission. At that time also, we can discuss one-to-one, and I will also be sending you some reading matter. This is something about the sample size concept, why it is important. I thought of covering this with some examples. Okay. Now, this is something I really enjoyed. I was reading since last 2 days what I should speak to you in my last class to you. I was just wondering what I should do late night yesterday, which came up in the morning edition of Times of India. That is my first exhibit that I'll be showing now. And I'll be giving 2 examples of empirical research. And one is, which is appearing in today's Times of India, some study on how long Indians live on an average. This is the broad objective, right? And there, it is actually a sub-objective. I think to some of you, I might have written in my response to your questionnaire, are you clear about the objective? Are you clear about particular specific sub-objective? They wanted to study if it depends on social hierarchy and caste system. Hope you understand like the objective, what they wanted to do. Please listen to me. I would be requesting you all to please listen to me. Now, the second example, I'll be just citing the findings from Arthur Brooks, and it's a very interesting book. Maybe like I would suggest, if time permits, sometime, maybe like after 4-5 months, you can go through. It's a very interesting. I found it interesting. Through this, I wanted to present today something, another important concept called longitudinal study. First, I introduce sample size. Second, I want to highlight the importance, meaning of the concept of longitudinal study. Okay, this is a very interesting example, and we'll be trying to highlight how long can be longitudinal study. What is the meaning of longitudinal study, Priyanka, if you're there?
So long.
So something that measures a
Long
phenomenon
term.
over a period of
So
time.
the study
a
which
study
we,
over a period of time,
A
long
study-
period of time.
A study which demands, which requires, which involves a long period observation. You cannot go and observe and come back. If that kind of research you are taking off, so that involves a longitudinal study. So one can ask question, how long? Should it be 6 months? Should it be 1 month? Should it be 1 week? Or should it be like 1 year or more than that? So that depends on the objective. Okay, that's why we often ask, what is your objective? Are you clear or not? Okay, this is a very interesting example. So this is the screenshot from today's paper. So as you can find, the finding comes off as the title of the article. Upper caste live more than backward caste people, particularly scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Can I ask Abdul Karim and Ali Alusam? I'm sorry that I'm using some Indian terms. I do not know in your country whether you have such study observation or not. So these are the terms SC, ST are for backward caste. When you're dividing the society into hierarchy, how it affects impacts. Okay. Now, just all of you requested to note what are the findings, and we can discuss first example, second example. I will be asking you at the end what is the link between first example and second example, right? So this is what the article goes. I request you all to please look at the screen. So first thing, this is called the main objective, how long Indians live on an average. Okay. Now, just listen, Arpita did not write anything. There is no quiz today also. Enjoy the topic. So it depends, somebody is finding, does it depend on the hierarchy? Okay. So from this, Arpita, can you help me? Does it
Yes, sir.
fit to cause and effect, causal relationship they are indirectly finding? Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So from this, you should think that way. When you're
Yes.
discussing our research thoughts, I request you all, please involve and think that way. Think that way means you should think, if we are taking up a research like this, what we should do, what methodology should be adopted, and can you think of a different methodology? Arpita, I am taking you as my representative because I still love your first observation. In research, how will you find the novelty? So this is what I liked it. Okay, don't mind. I have taken it in a very interesting example from my teaching point of view. So this is what they have found. The upper caste living about 4 to 6 years more than the people of backward caste. See the finding, okay? Now, if you see, I won't comment, I won't have my own observation. I reserve my observation here. So this is what they have found. Now, they have taken the population as homogeneous or heterogeneous. Kavita madam, can I trouble you?
Heterogeneous, sir.
Very good. Satish, do you agree with Kavita madam?
I'm not sure, sir.
Divya?
Sir, I think heterogeneous.
Okay. So if it is heterogeneous, why you think it is heterogeneous, Divya?
It holds across regions, income levels, and type.
Income level? Okay. So you are viewing the population from income point of view. Okay. What is the objective here, Kavita?
Longevity.
Longevity. Very good. Why one lives longer? Why one lives shorter? Right? You wanted to study. And Indian population. Right? So when you are trying to answer why, you are looking at the religion, you are looking at the caste. Okay. Is it the prime? Is it the most important predictor? Okay, this is what one should ask. So when we started with the discussion, the research gap, all of you, including me, should think of, can it be a gap methodology? Can it be critiqued? Okay, this is what I wanted to present today. So this All of you, please remember how it has been viewed. Why you are looking at the hierarchy? Why not their eating style? Why not their living style? Okay. So when your main criterion variable is longevity, what affects, and you are being one of the factors. Okay. If you find a correlation coefficient, will it be strong enough, or is it the only factor? Okay. This is how you have to debate. Okay. Now, some of the important is they have taken that it holds. They are concluding over religions, income level, Kavita plus PC. They are assuming that irrespective of income level, their finding is going to hold good. Okay. So this is what like we can suggest. Okay. This is the finding that upper caste men and Muslim. So when you're taking Muslim, when you're looking at Muslim or Hindu, it's a population. Okay.
Right.
Hope you will agree with me that it is heterogeneous. Hindu population, Muslim population will be heterogeneous. Now, should we divide that population?
Sir, I have a question.
Some group or something else?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, give me just half a minute. Let me repeat.
Sure.
Should we divide that population, Muslim population, Hindu population, by income or something else? How do we decide? Satish, over to you, your question, and then
why I at that time said I was not sure whether it is homogeneous or heterogeneous is basically we are looking at one ethnicity, which is people living in this part of the world. And what if a similar study was done across Africans, Indians, and Europeans?
wow.
And then whether that will be more heterogeneous than this, because
Wow.
the leveling that we have done is a social leveling. It has
Good.
got
Well taken. Well taken. Let's move ahead. Now, my question, I'm repeating the question. When you are going for stratification, I'm using one word, again, RM jargon, stratified random sampling. I think we might have discussed stratification is required when you feel they are heterogeneous. Okay. Repeat, stratification is required when you feel population is heterogeneous. Now, how do you stratify? How do you divide the population? What is the basis? Now, who can volunteer? How usually the division should have happened or should take place? Volunteers, raise your hand. Saswat, you are there? No.
Yes, sir, I'm there. Thinking
You're not
how to.
participating. You are angry?
No, sir.
Yeah. Arpita.
So I think the variability or on the basis of which we should measure everyone, like everyone in the same plate of thinking.
What is the question? What is the question, Arpita? Dear?
So your question was like when we are dividing the population or we are dividing the heterogeneity of the population, then on what factors, on the basis of what factors we should divide?
Basis, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So sir, my point here is like we should divide it on one common factor so that everyone can be getting into the same radius. Like suppose here it is mentioned.
We should not take income as the basis.
Yes, sir, we should.
Okay. Dibya.
So because it is a stratified sampling, I think that it should be divided. We can make a cluster of Muslim men, Muslim women, and then SC caste, and then we can take data from each of the cluster we have made.
Oh, I'm not asking why, but you wait that I'm coming back to you after 2 minutes. I'm going to ask you why. Anybody else would like to have his or
Place,
yeah,
place of, sir, why cannot we consider the place of residence? I mean the.
Saswat dear, can I, sorry, don't mind, can I ask a stupid question? What was my question?
So how do we divide it, the heterogeneous population?
Usually, I have used the word usually. So
Okay.
it's like a probable question from exam point of view, or like clarification.
Sir,
When
if
you are dividing to bring in homogeneity, what should be done? How?
you it should it not be contextual if the objective is longevity.
Yes, don't forget the objective, what you want to do. Okay, what
So
is the
maybe
objective here?
longevity. So maybe
Longevity of people of India.
right. So
Okay,
maybe access to primary
so
health care.
maybe like you first identify different factors. Which factor is most important?
So maybe access to primary health care, people living in cities and villages, vaccinations,
Good. Suppose say access to
nutrition.
healthcare. How much is the contribution to? Suppose let me put it in mathematics or statistics way.
Right.
Why is longevity? This side. Okay, this side you have got 5 factors: eating habit, healthcare.
Healthcare.
To X3, X4. So don't mind, I'm using even statistics. As a student of statistics, I'm putting it. Now you relate X1 with Y, X2 with Y, X3 with Y. Priyanka, I'm sure you are expert. You don't like statistics going above head. So
No, sir, I'm trying to follow.
X3, X4, X5, they're equally important, right?
Yes, sir.
Priyanka, Satish, Anu, I'm missing all of you. This is the greatest drawback of online. I'm like clear that you are a family man. Maybe you have a lot of 100, 200 family care. You are like distracted.
Sir, I have a guy checking for my passport address check, and he's on my head. So I really had to balance, and these police guys are.
Read from the face of Satish. You are multitasking. You are doing something else also. Neha, yes. So what is my question? Quick, 30 seconds. Repeat my question. 30-second answer if you are.
So how can we stratify the?
Neha, you are also not with me. Sorry. I suggested Y versus 5 factors. Y is longevity. I have a different 5 factors. All of you listen to me.
Yes.
My question to Priyanka, just to check whether she is doing something else or listening to stupid Subudhi or not. That was my purpose. Okay. So these 5 factors, so they are equally important. That was the question. They are not.
They should not be.
They should not. Simple answer. So now, suppose first factor, eating habits, suppose it is the most important. And a correlation you find 0.6 or 0.7. Healthcare, they are positively related. Say it is 0.3. Which is more important?
The eating habits.
The food.
So if you are pretty sure eating habit factor is double important than healthcare, should we not divide the population primarily on the eating style or living style kind of thing?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to suggest, don't forget the objective. Objective should suggest, help us how we should study. Okay, this is what my submission request I have. Let's move. And I would be suggesting that article critiquing. What is the meaning of critiquing? Article critiquing should be done like this. You debate, understand. It is a much more serious, more mature job. Article critiquing is another research. This particular short file I have just now shared in our WhatsApp. I don't want to waste your time. Don't read. You read later. I'm just like suggesting how article critiquing is done. As you can find in the letter to editor column of a very highly rated journal, one professor is commenting on the methodology of the research done by another professor. The professor does a research trying to understand the association and dependence between suicidal tendency and marital status. What are the 2 factors? Suicidal tendency vis-a-vis marital status. Divya madam looking for breakfast? Unmute. Marital
sir.
status. What could be the type of marital status? Suppose there is
So
a
married,
questionnaire.
so married, unmarried,
Then over.
Divorced.
divorced, widowed.
So you have to have so many categories. Okay, try to understand. Now please see the finding here is this article reported that divorced and separated men had a higher risk of suicidal tendency than the married men. Maybe emotional support, whatever religion you do it. So this is the finding. Now please see, for this what they have done, they have taken data they are observing from 1979 to 1989, 11 years. Okay, they are observing this, the reference period, 11 years. Okay, can you please try to understand? The data is based on 11 years of observation, and the article is published later in late 1990s, and the critique comes up in 2000. So a research is everlasting. The person who pointed out some doubts the person had. Now you are observing, suppose the base year is 1979. So person X, maybe Arpita, you have taken her, okay? Maybe during the 11 years, her marital status will change. Now, if you are recording one category of a respondent, at the end of the reference year, it changes. So when you are linking, making a chi-square, it is having the difficulty. Okay. So anyway, just like I'm suggesting, the methodology flaws also you should be careful. And some of the points he had pointed out, I would suggest you to go through this. And again, the author also had the rejoinder on the comment of the reviewer or the critic, what he or they had to defend. So this is very interesting. If you have time, you can go through this one-page material, what the author had to write. Okay. Now, I'll be taking you to another more interesting example that I have today. This is the last example. This is about the book of Arthur Brooks. I would suggest, if time permits, sometime maybe like after a few months or so, you can go through the gist here. It's a very interesting thing. The book title is From Strength to Strength, Finding Success, Finding Happiness, and the Deep Purpose of Life. And please see, the scope is in the second half of life, senior citizens. Try to understand, if you want to study, how do we stay happy? Why people are more happy than others? Has it any predictors? If you can find some influencing factors which influences the happiness factor, success factor, this is the objective. Okay. Now, please imagine, suppose we are studying and measuring constructs like happiness, construct like success, construct like purpose of life, why I'm living. Okay. Now, and the scope context is the second half of life. Now, here, I think I have just today morning replied to Kavita and Neha's mail. There is some observation or assumption. We may have a feeling that the professional and social relevance accompanies aging. Can anybody guess before I proceed further? social relevance is more, what will be the amount of happiness? Social relevance is less, what will be the amount of happiness?
Social relevance.
Social relevance directly affects
Direct
happiness.
correlation.
Oro and others, I think all of you are now with me. So this is what the observation, okay? Now please see, we are also trying to measure, understand, study. As we grow old, as we find our abilities are waning, decreasing, how disappointment grows, how disappointed we are with the waning abilities. This is also one of the factors they have studied. Now, this is the observation. Many of us assume that the more successful we are, the less susceptible we become to the sense of professional and social irrelevance that often accompanying aging. I repeat, professional irrelevance, social irrelevance, how it affects the happiness associated with aging. What is the observation? Can you simplify, Arpita? Just simplify the sentence.
So can I try?
Yeah, Priyanka.
Yeah.
Okay. I just think what we're trying to say is that the impact on an individual because of the professional or social lives becomes less as you age in the second half of your life.
Only if you're successful.
Kavita?
Only if you're successful. The more successful you become, then you are assured that I have done professionally.
Can I understand like this? Kavita and Priyanka, kindly correct me. Suppose Priyanka was, I'm using the word past tense, was very much successful in the midlife. She rose to CEO and she was doing wonderful. And when she grows old, she will not grow old, she will remain ever young. And then the sense, that word underlined, sense is less. So the emotion, you don't feel, okay? So I have done in my life, okay? So this is the feeling. So you will be less unhappy. This is what, is it the thing? Kavita and
Yes.
Sudarshan, you wanted to say something? So this is the feeling. Now please see what are the finding. But the finding is greater our achievements and our attachment to them, the more we notice our decline and more painful it is.
Sir, can I add something here?
Yeah, please.
I think what really matters, I think the statement is right, but what the fundamental factor here is the second part, which is not the achievement per se, but our attachment to the achievement. If we are able to.
Okay. Satish, don't forget what you want to tell something more. I'm requesting to have a pause.
Sure.
Anu, Priyanka, Arpita, any one of you, or Kavita. What Satish commented, how it should be taken. I think. Let me. I'm asking very complicated question. Let me permit me. Don't mind if I answer. So this is a finding. It's not Subudhi's observation. Okay, I'm quoting Arthur. Okay, it's based on 7 years research. But Satish has a right to say something. Now my question here is, what Satish observation should be taken as?
Critic.
No,
Or a
Saswati.
research.
This is a response as one of the potential respondents.
Okay.
Suppose you are taking a sample, it's your opinion. So similar opinion you collect 200, 300, and you analyze.
True.
Making sense. So please see, when you are making a presentation, this is what we can say as our suggestion, our feeling. It's our opinion. But when as a scholar, I'm presenting Shashwat, I have no role. I cannot say my feeling. Either you quote somebody or you find based on your analysis.
Correct.
Okay. What Satish suggested, welcome. It is what people feel. So one can take as a potential respondent's feeling. Okay, observation. I can say it, Satish, or you have something to input?
You are right, and I also didn't mean anything different. The line itself says our achievement and our attachment to the achievement, which means both are needed.
What Arthur found, huh? Okay, that I'll be repeating here. Now, this is what suggestion based on 7-year research finding, the detachment from empty rewards. And please see the second important factors.
Yeah.
Connection to others, service to others. Connection and service to others. And spiritual progress, what we Indians also mostly feel, can set ourselves up for increased happiness. This is what the suggestion. I think very interesting we found. Now, before I show you the next slide, can I just ask you here? Can we link my first example and the second example? Is there any similarity and lot of difference in finding observation? First example, Indian finding, Times of India. Second example, Arthur Brooks finding. Is it also related to happiness, senior citizens, similar to that? Is anybody finding?
No, sir, I think they are different. That's my observation.
Yes, sir, I agree with
That was
Priyanka.
longevity, but I think we understand that longevity also happiness, more or less, has something to do with. But one is viewing the caste hierarchy. One is viewing a broader predictors. So this is what Satish was, I remember. So this explanation, fantastic. He did tell us today that what might have happened or would be found in African countries. You remember Satish cited this example. Now this I wanted to repeat here. See, the research, what they have done in West, and a small research project which has come up in Times of India, can you just find the broad based. Now what I just to show here, this is the book, and this is the person, and this is the link one can find. So as many of you know, in Indian terminology, we call visiting professor. In Western context, they call it professor of practice. So they are, he is there. So let's move, and a similar study, will be really, I was amazed, I was surprised to read this particular example, again on happiness, longevity of senior citizens, okay? So perhaps this is one of the longest longitudinal study to me, I guess, like we can find also Google, there could be many more. So this, I thought of sharing with you, like how a longitudinal study could be very challenging, very fascinating, and very rewarding also. Through this example, I wanted to study. Now here, somebody thought and proposed, can we study, as we all one day or other will be pretty old, grow old, and all of us have the objective, can we really live happily, really live peacefully? So the peaceful, happy living, what are the factors that might impact, and what could be the good predictors? These are the predictors, means factors. Okay, this is what somebody suggested, and that happened some 70 years back. Some companies appreciated this because this is socially useful project, and in this project, the methodology they suggested that perhaps we need to observe how we grow, the adulthood process, what is the lifestyle we maintain during our adulthood, middle age, and how it is linked to the old age happiness. The person or the team of professors who thought, they thought this way. I request, give me another 10 minutes, please concentrate here. I found it is very interesting. Is that okay, Arpita? So this is how it came to their mind, right? Now, imagine it happened in 1938. Study of adult development. Initially, they identified 268 young people. As some of you must have read, in US, they take ethical permission, and they reward. Suppose Arpita, Neha, Subudhi, they are the respondents. They are among the 268. We will be paid regularly every year. Before the investigator comes to collect some data, every year some dollars will be given to those 268 people. Imagine. It went on. They studied on their lifestyle, habits, relationship, work pressure, and the then happiness, etc. Okay. And because of the funding, interest, and the team, the sample size reached to 1,300 by 2017. Neha is now wide-eyed. Arpita is also surprised. Can you imagine a research started in 1938 by Arpita, a research started by Neha at 1938, Professor Neha, Professor Arpita. Will they be there? You should be there. Don't mind otherwise. So what would happen to a long longitudinal study? You can imagine, question me, some professor might have died. So it is something something like a, what should I say, a religious activity. Some are inheriting the way we say the show must go on, that spirit. Come what may, show must go on. So the data gets collected, professors come and join, they disappear, maybe like they take transport or they die, whatever. But the project continued, try to understand. And time to time, they use data and they publish papers, books on this. So this is a mission. A long longitudinal study will be there, okay? Now, some researchers now come to the finding, have pointed out that a person's behavior in their earlier part of life shapes the life in old age. Interesting finding. It is established. Can you imagine to come to this sentence? What is the cost of the research, Arpita? Can you understand? A simple looking a sentence.
90 years.
Imagine. We can say $1 billion sentence. So a research can be costly. So when you're writing a sentence, you should quote so and so. This is what we have been requesting you all along in our. So this is the finding. Now, from this observation, I request you all to refer back to the Times of India example research. The study showed the role of genetics and long-lived ancestor proved to be less important to longevity. See the finding here. And in Times of India, some teams are suggesting something else, and you are taking the hierarchy. Then the level of satisfaction with the relationship in midlife. Now recognized as good predictor of healthy aging. See the interesting fact. Satish, over to you.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So the way you connected today's article to this 90-year-old longitudinal study, and connected the that genetics, etc., are not so much connected that the behavior at early age. Is it because you already, knew this article from your prior experience, or you could find it out so quickly? I'm curious to know.
No, yeah, interesting. I got your point. Actually, I was like thinking what I should cover to give example on two concepts, sample size and longitudinal study. I thought I have perhaps missed convincing you on the importance of these two terms, sample size and longitudinal study. I was just going through normal reading, like the paper comes, I read. I thought, wow, the wow factor, eureka. Okay, I should tell this. Okay, it started 2 days back. I have been like thinking what I should talk of. I thought like this could be very interesting. Okay, so this is how we revise our delivery talk. Priyanka, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The only question I have is, it says relationships in midlife. So is it any relationship, or was there a specific mention of which relationship? Because it could be professional, personal.